Hello everyone, Marcel here. I wanted to break free of my normal video context and actually give some advice to what I see as a man who desperately needs some. Not even a few weeks ago I made a video on don't date crazy, and then this stuff happens. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Onision. He runs a number of YouTube channels. He's really abstract with his content. I can't say I agree with many of his views, but he'll occasionally come up with some good points. He ranges anywhere from discussing important issues within society all the way down to putting on a banana suit or dry humping the ground in the middle of a road. The reason I would even bother to make this video is on my other channel, I was actually one of his original subscribers back when I was younger and before I started developing political views of my own that differed from his. I mostly just watched him for when he was acting really crazy, but nonetheless, he was someone from my childhood. So it's fair to say that a lot of what he does is for attention. And I keep that in mind when I address his video We Broke Up that he put out yesterday, November 9th. I'm going to make a few assumptions that he was honest, that the video is unbiased and not embellished for the sake of entertainment or something. Now the first thing I would tell him is obviously to go MGTOW, but I can't just say that. I have to explain why, other than he's a successful public figure that's going to draw the attention of women that are going to use him. So based on that video, I'm going to explain what he did wrong and what he could do to either fix it or prevent it from happening again. So speaking to Onision, first of all, when a girlfriend or a lover tells you that they're bi, you have to take on a paradigm shift in your perception where you no longer see them interacting with the same sex in the same context. Women have a tendency to get away with a lot more than men can when it comes to this sort of thing. Put it through a gender swap test. If a guy came out as bi and then his girlfriend saw him at a bar getting friendly with another guy, what would her reaction be? So when LaineyBot told you she was bisexual, you should have considered being jealous when she talked to other women. They were from that point on a threat to your relationship. When she asked your permission to bring another woman into the mix, she was essentially getting permission for an affair. If you would not have agreed to having another man, you should not have agreed to having another woman. Now, before anyone tells me that threesomes are okay, that is not what Onision was dealing with. He frequently calls it a ménage à trois or a trinity, and that is not what it was. He was dealing with what's known as a polyamorous relationship. It has a much deeper meaning and a greater effect than these more casual terms imply. Anyway, back to my advice. So, when she asked for this, you should have been the one to pick the girl, if you were to agree to it at all. Furthermore, considering you were the one allowing her to have another partner, you should have been in control from the very beginning. None of this nonsense that halfway through when there's problems you try to take control. It should have always been under your power. I'm gonna guess that your sex drive got in the way of that kind of thinking, that basically if she were willing to allow you to have any involvement with another woman, that it was a gift to you, right? No, Billy was meant for her the entire time. She was never there for your sake, and that explains why she got so upset when there was any kind of intimacy between you and Billy. Most likely, LaineyBot would have been happiest if Billy had just been a girl on the side and there were no interactions between you and her at all. So the next time, if this happens again, when you pick the girl that you want to bring into the relationship, ensure that she's an ally to you first. Because in essence, you were the one giving your wife permission to break her marriage vows. If the third person you bring in doesn't truly care for you, it's asking for disaster. Then you did what any guy would do, which is take the rules that were set forth and bend them to where you could get closer to Billy. That's referring to her getting a massage from you and cuddling and stuff. My question is, why would you agree to rules that prohibit you from being intimate with a woman that your wife is being intimate with? If it's acceptable for her, why in the hell wouldn't it be acceptable for you? I wouldn't accept that kind of bullshit with a normal threesome, let alone try and spin it into a real relationship. Now, I won't go too far into depth with Billy's interactions with you and as far as her behaviors and whether or not she was a good person, because more than likely, if you had been the one to pick the girl that got brought into the relationship, it would have solved the majority of those problems. You're still a pretty level-headed guy, and despite your taste in women, going back from when you were with Shiloh and stuff, not to make assumptions about you or anything, or about Shiloh for that matter. All I have to go off of is what you guys posted on videos. You still would pick the person to bring in based upon the qualities that you would want out of this sort of a relationship you were trying to build, as opposed to being attracted to them because you wanted to help them, or how pretty they are, maybe how emotionally you bond when you interact with them. Something tells me Lanybot didn't have your relationship's best interest at heart when she picked this girl. More likely it was, hey, she's cute, click. Look, in a lot of ways, you're kind of like me. You're a fixer. You want to go in and help people. And I think you base some of your relationships in that regards. I know how that feels. Back when I was dating, I wound up with a lot of women that I'd initially wanted to try and help and wound up being in a relationship with. I'm gonna guess with your personality that the reason you agreed to this in the first place was probably because Lanybot said she needed it for some reason, that it was going to emotionally help her or stabilize the relationship, maybe even pulled your sex drive into the factor, right? I'm betting that's a pretty good guess. I believe if you had set this whole thing up yourself, you would have been completely fair and unbiased in the way the rules, if you want to call them that, were set up from the beginning. And there wouldn't have been any awkwardness or jealousy that came from it, or at least minimized. Based on what I've seen and heard from your interactions with these women, I believe that you are in an abusive relationship where you are the one being abused. The things these women say to you, the suicide threats, the hateful messages, the arguments, the fighting, all of it is being generated by them or because of what they want. None of that is normal and healthy in a thriving relationship. You're sadly just being dragged along for the ride. A summary of your most recent video, Why I Have No Friends, is essentially don't let people take advantage of you. Take the same advice that you put out in that video to your viewers and turn it in on yourself and apply it to relationships. If you wouldn't tolerate that kind of stuff from a friend, why would you accept worse treatment from a girlfriend or a wife? Didn't you even say in your video you were paying Billy $1,800 a month? For what? Managing a Twitter account and making out with your wife for you? In essence, you need to stand up for yourself. Have some confidence and some courage to stand up to people even if you love them, if they're mistreating you, or if they're expecting you to do things that really aren't fair. Think of it this way, all these people that you've stood up to over the years for bullying, and you won't stand up to the very women you live with doing it in your own home. Even with what's gone on so far though, you're gonna have an uphill battle. Society criminalizes the man and victimizes the woman before they even know the whole story. Doesn't matter if she put a knife in your back, they're still gonna say it was your fault. These are the times that you really have to stand up for yourself. Hold the people in your life accountable for their action, and start making better choices. Maybe I could never convince you to go MGTOW. So think of it this way. You have almost 2 million subscribers, which I would guess are probably, by vast majority, a bunch of teenage girls. You are setting an example for them, both in how a man should behave, a woman should treat a man, as well as how a relationship should be. Now you have every right to live the life that you want to live. I would never take that from anyone. But it's something to consider whether or not you want respect to be something your viewers pick up from the romantic portions of your videos where you deal with your relationships in regards to how a man should be treated. You tell me, would you want the young girls growing up to be like Billy, Lanybot, Shiloh, these kinds of women? Not that I'm passing judgment, I've never met them. I don't know them, I'm just going off of the stuff that you've said. Would you want them to grow up like them? Treat men the way those women are treating you? Well, anyway, if any of this actually gets to you, I hope it helps. And as far as my MGTOW viewers goes, I hope this wasn't a waste of your time hearing it through. Let me know in the comments below if you think I gave good advice. I will be adding links to the videos I'm referring to, but I would ask that you don't harass anyone involved. I'm sure the man already has enough to deal with contending with 2 women. If you all want to hear more content like this, then like and subscribe.